is something we need. It's a leap of faith. Oh, if you have the will and the moment to spare, it's a beautiful world out there. It's a beautiful world out there.
We start the walk at the large free car park at Kingsbarns Bay, which has ample room for motorhomes. Kingsbarns is a beautifully and exceptionally well preserved conservation village on the east coast of Fife. Historically, the village grew as an agricultural settlement. The name came from the barns used to store grain here prior to transporting to the royal castle at Crail and the palace at Falkland. Being less than half a mile from the coast, it was natural for residents to look to the sea for their transport and to supplement their food supply. In 1810, a pier was built by the Earl of Kelly to provide shelter for vessels used to transport grain and potatoes as far afield as Newcastle and London, and to bring in coal and tiles. In 1861, a local farmer extended the existing pier and built another to create a harbour. The stones used in the construction were placed vertically, like so many harbours in Fife, in the belief this made it more difficult for the sea to lift them out of position. The harbour that resulted could berth ships of up to 100 tonnes, but it rapidly deteriorated, and by the end of the century was only usable by small fishing boats. Today you can see the remains of the harbour walls on the sands of Cambo Bay. In the 8th decade of the 18th century, at the same time as the 13 states were declaring their independence and the Constitution of the United States was scripted, the merchants and lairds of Kingsbarns drafted articles to form the Kingsbarns Golf Society. Golf has been enjoyed over the links land of Kingsbarns beginning in 1793. Attired in their blue coats, the Kingsbarns men met for their spring and autumn meetings to challenge for the society medals on the links and to enjoy the conviviality of friends over dinner in the golfers' hall. The society continued to wager wine and dine for decades until the Cambo Estate tenant farmer ploughed up the links in 1850 in order to add to his farmable area. Farmland in that period was more valuable than land set aside for golf. Prompted and inspired by Lady Erskine of Cambo, the old Kingsbarns Golf Society was re-established and founded as Kingsbarns Golf Club in 1922, and Willie Ochterlony laid out a 9-hole course on the links about Kingsbarns Bay. This course served the golfing needs of the locals and holidaymakers until the onset of the Second World War, when the links was mined in the national security defence effort and it quickly reverted to rough pasture. Golf was resurrected on Kingsbarns links at the dawn of the 21st century, the only Scottish course to be built on links land in over 70 years, and with its seaside setting, Kingsbarns joined the great old courses of nearby St Andrews and Carnoustie, bringing with it a new dimension to the traditional Scottish game. The course is ranked in the top 100 golf courses in the world. Cambo Estates and Gardens. The estates of Cambo were granted to Robert de Newnham by a charter of King William the Lion. His descendants took the name de Cambo and had settled in Fife by the early 14th century. Sir John Campbell fought at the Battle of Methven in 1306, but was captured by the English and hanged at Newcastle. In 1599 the estate was granted to Thomas Merton. In 1668 Sir Charles Erskine, the Lord Lion King of Arms and the brother of the 3rd Earl of Kelly, purchased the property from the creditors of Patrick Merton. The estate passed through the Erskine family to the 5th Earl of Kelly, who forfeited his lands after supporting the Jacobite Rising of 1745. In 1759, Cambo was sold to the Charteris family, who bought it for their son who was studying at St Andrews University. Thomas Erskine, the 9th Earl of Kelly, bought the estate back in the 1790s. A successful merchant in Sweden, he invested heavily in improving the estate, building the picturesque Georgian estate farms and carrying out extensive land drainage. He commissioned the architect Robert Balfour to remodel the house in 1795. His descendants continued the improvements of the estate through the 19th century, laying out ornamental gardens with a series of early cast iron bridges. The old house comprised of a tower house with numerous additions, including a first-floor conservatory. It was destroyed by fire in 1878 after a staff party when the Erskine family was away. The present house was built on the same site between 1879 and 1884 to designs by architects Wardrobe and Reed. Cambo House is protected as a Category B listed building, and the grounds are included in the Inventory of Gardens and Designed Landscapes in Scotland, the national listing of historic gardens. The Walled Garden and Woodland Gardens are open to the public year-round. The estate woodlands have a significant collection of snowdrops, including over 300 varieties of Galanthus species. The estate was awarded National Collection status by the National Council for Conservation of Plants and Gardens.